Well, I want to invite our speaker up here, Dale Goodson. Welcome, Dale, and also welcome Letty, his wife. So they've come all the way from Washington to be with us today, and it is a blessing to have him. He came here actually the last time we had our outdoor church, and Dale, you always inspire me. I think it's what God has done through you and how he's worked in your life, and just how you somehow articulate things and understand what God has done in your life. So Dale is an AFM missionary. He was a missionary many years ago in Papua New Guinea, and today he trains missionaries to continue the work. So Dale's going to share some mission stories today, but before we go into his talk, I just want to ask him some questions and do a short interview with him. So you work for AFM, which stands for Adventist Frontier Missions.
Correct.
How many countries does your organization work in?
So we're working currently, I think, 37 countries.
37 countries. And what distinguishes those countries from other countries? Like, why just those countries?
Good question. So Adventist Frontier Missions, since its inception, has tried to focus exclusively on unreached people groups. So these would be countries that contained unreached people groups or countries where Christianity has been really struggling.
So just give us some examples of some of the countries.
India.
Okay.
Yep.
So how do AFM missionaries work? I mean, how do they go about doing their work when they come to a new country? Can you tell us just some basic things about?
Okay, so again, a good question. So our primary focus is like grassroots church planting. So because we're working in unreached people groups, we tend not to go places where they have lots of churches already in existence. So usually when we have missionaries enter a new area, they're going to be starting from scratch. So they'll be building friendships, talking to people, and then creating interest, or looking for places where God's already been working, creating interest in people's hearts, and then they're feeding that interest, and then establishing small groups of people that, again, interested in learning about God, reading the Bible, studying the Bible, teaching them how to do that, having Bible studies with them, establishing small house churches, and then expanding, from that. And one of the things we really want to do is not just have believers, but have believers who are trained to be evangelists, like to go out and reach out to their friends and community members and start more house churches. Yeah.
So tell us some of the things that God is doing right now through AFM.
Well, that's a good question. I can tell you we have a number of missionaries who are working on the very beginning stages, like just barely getting started, learning languages, studying cultures, building the friendships, and just starting fresh, with the first interest, first Bible studies, just barely getting started. We have some that I know are just learning the language. We have one I think I talked about last year, the couple that's working in Alma, which is the northwest corner of Papua New Guinea. And when I came here last year, the wife and that husband and wife couple, she was extremely sick, and I asked you if you would pray for her, please. And I remember she made a comment that was really inspiring to me. She said, she was really sick, and the doctor told her like it didn't look good for her. That she may never recover from the disease she was struggling with, and so then it looked like maybe she was going to get better, and he wasn't really recommending that she go back because it was hot and mosquitoes, lots of mosquitoes and other God's creatures that carry disease, right? Mm-hmm. So she wasn't sure. I wasn't sure she'd want to go back, and so I was just talking to her about that, and because she was in so much pain, like she had a lot of joint pain, and so I asked her like, so what do you think, And she says, well, the fact that I have been sick for 7 months is no indication that those people no longer need salvation. That was their comment. The fact that I've been sick and in pain for 7 months is no indication that they no longer need salvation. And so that really was inspiring to me. And now she's back there, and they've started a little church. They have a little congregation going, and they're moving forward. Right. So we have that. We have the young man I mentioned, I think last year. He had gone into the Philippines years ago and started a little church, and it's been growing and growing and growing. And he's really focused on enabling people or equipping people to share the gospel. And because of that, they have hundreds of little churches now, hundreds of them. And it's spread from one tribe to two tribes to three tribes to four tribes. And now they sent out their first, what they would call, foreign missionary, who's leaving their tribal area, heading someplace else. There's thousands of people involved, a little movement there. So there's a lot of stories like that.
So all in the space of how much time?
So that, I would say, from that to now would be, I got to back up here in my head.
From like last summer? No.
So now it's really expanded from last summer to this summer, because once you get, like if you go to 1 to 2 and you double it, okay, now you get 4, right? So you're doubling it. If you double every couple of years, from 4 would be 8 and then 16. So once you've got hundreds or thousands of believers, hundreds of churches, just even if it was only like, expanding like 10%, you could still have, dozens of new churches planted. So, and then we have, I won't tell you what country, but there's a man and his wife who moved to a country where the Adventist church has been struggling for forever. And I get their prayer notes, and every week, I'll bet you every week they get at least one divinely appointed contact, at least one. Sometimes the whole families, and it's resulted in them going on boat trips and numerous boat trips, just because people have met them, really inspired by them. They're in a country surrounded by water. They're invited to go on these little excursions with the family, like family outings, and every single time it seemed like it ends up in Bible studies and more people curious about their faith, and giving up prejudice and being willing to embrace Bible studies and new friendships with the missionary couple. So I love reading that little prayer chat thing. Just constantly new stories about opportunities where it's not just like they just bump into somebody, but God orchestrated the appointment, and that I think is really inspiring.
So before I let you speak or preach, I understand that you've written a book. Can you share a little bit about this book that you've written? And it's come out, like a year ago? Or
It was put in print in, I think, November or December.
Okay, so it's just recently.
Correct.
This is the book, and actually has 3 copies with him. So if there's anybody who's interested in this book, please come to me afterwards. Tell us a little bit about the book.
I will tell you, I'm going to pull the yellow, I put a phone number on there in case anybody was interested in finding a copy. There's actually three volumes, so there's a 3-volume set. So you've got the Rookie in the Rainforest. That covers the first few years my wife and I were in New Guinea. This is Snake Bum Logic and Rainforest Discipleship. You'll love this one. This is talking about discipleship techniques we use in the forest. They're all stories, but there's lessons, missions about mission work in the stories. I wrote them specifically in a way that would try to help Americans understand the mission concepts and how to apply them. So as I wrestle with those mission concepts embedded in stories over there, I was hoping people would be able to, when they read them, to be able to say, "Wait, I can do that here too." So that was my goal. And this one is Mud, Machetes, and Mourning. These are stories that often missionaries don't tell. These are stories of struggles. There's one of the AFM's. They had what do they call that? my technological verbology, you know. So they have so they have this they made a recording and made it available to the public. And it's one of the most hottest listened to, but it was basically one of the stories in here about a stuck truck. So I'll just leave it like that. And then I will be telling you a story at your pastor's request that's in this book. Again, these are the tougher stories. And then I will be telling you a story that came out of this book. So you'll two stories out of these two books.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I just want to offer a prayer and ask for God's blessing upon your word as you speak to us. So, yes, let's pray together. Dear God in heaven, thank you so much for Dale, and thank you so much for the word that you have given to him. And we just pray that you would open up our ears and that you would give us a passion for you, a passion for other people. And I pray that the word that he shares with us today would speak to our hearts and our minds. We thank you for your great love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Good morning. Ty, is that the guy's name who was playing the piano? Ty, where are you, Ty? I saw you somewhere. He spoiled it for me. I was going to make an apology for the sermon before I preached it, because I thought maybe it would be lower expectations. And this guy gets up, apologizes before he plays the piano, and then does a brilliant job. It's like, man, if I apologize now, it's not going to lower your expectations. It's going to raise your expectations, right? So I can't apologize now. So thanks, Ty. He did a beautiful job, just brilliant. I loved it. If I was the King David, I would hire him as my private pianist. So I do have a couple of stories I'd like to tell, but I'd like for you to know at least a little bit where I'm going. If I was driving the car and you were a passenger, you'd want to know, so where are we going? Is it New York, Chicago, Florida? Where are we going? And so I do want to at least give you an idea. I will be talking to you a couple of stories that were a bit challenging. Like if you were me or you're my wife, especially in the mission field, and you went through these experiences, you would find it challenging. And initially, they're the kind of stories that pumped a lot of adrenaline, in your body. And then later on, you look back and say, wow, God really helped me, during that time frame. But when you're in the middle of it, no one says, oh, wow, I'm glad I'm here. Are you with me? Yeah, so it's only afterward you look back and say, well, it was kind of a cool thing to go through that experience and see God's hand at work. But when you're there, we don't take numbers to get to be one of those people that goes through that, right? So one of those occasions took place in the earlier years of my wife and I, our time in New Guinea. We had not formally adopted, but we had embraced the responsibility for caring for a baby, and the baby was she was about 10 months when we had took her in. We eventually did adopt her, so if I refer to her from this point on, I'll call her our daughter. Okay, just so I don't have to go back and forth with that explanation. So we'll call her our daughter. So we had and she was, the daughter was from Papua New Guinea. So she was one of the young ladies in the tribal group that we were living and working with. And if you want to know how that came to be or what those people were like, there's a couple of chapters here dedicated just helping you understand what life was like there and how that girl came to live with us. So we were living in the village. And just so you know I say village, where the village is, if you can imagine, actually, I'm going to just flip this around, stand it up like this. If this was Papua New Guinea, it would be more like, you have a big gulf here. There'd be a part of this country that went way down like that. So you have this long piece down here. The Port Moresby, the capital city, would be down here. There's this large gulf. and there'd be a section down here. Western Province is over here. We have a project that way down that side. There's a mountain range in the middle, and then we have a project way up here. They get so much rain in Papua New Guinea. Like right now, they're having a dreadful dry season. It's a drought, but normally a lot of rain. And we lived in the Gulf, which would be this section right here, up in the. They had a swampy territory in the bottom, and there's a handful of rivers, and you can move up inland a little bit. There was a mountain there, and right at the base of that mountain is where we lived. And we got about 12 feet of rain a year, not inches, feet. And we had some colleagues up in this part of the country. They got 22 feet of rain a year. So, we thought we got a lot. They got a lot. Yeah. And I talked to a friend of mine. He said, he'd been there for 6 years. He said the longest it had been without rain was like 10 days. So in 6 years, like it just like every at least every 10 days it would rain. Yeah. And where we lived down just in the Gulf region there, we had water. We did not have like a water well. Or city water. It was in the rainforest. Like they don't know what city water is. So they drank out of the creek, out of the swamp. And I saw a guy who was thirsty one time, and he was walking through this swamp. He just stepped all over the mud and stuff until it made like a little hole. And he just waited for a few minutes until the water kind of seeped in. Then he bent over and he drank that. And okay, so they. Anyway, so we had a rain tank. We had a iron roof and then a metal roof, and we caught the water in the gutter, and it all ran into the rain tank. And when we got a lot of rain, we just drank straight from that. During the dry season, we did have like a 6-month dry season. That did not mean it did not rain during that time frame. It just meant that it rained less often. And there were times when our rain tank did run low. We had first, we had a 1,000-gallon tank, and then we got a 2,000-gallon tank. So we kept 2,000 gallons. Most of the time, it was in the top, probably 3/4 to a half, at least half full. But there were times when it dried out to the point where it got fairly low. And in 1997, we had a drought like they have this year, and it got so low, it went dry. And we pumped water from the creek into our tank. And then we put bleach in it to kill some of the bacteria, make it potable. So we had so most of the time it rained, and if it got down like a quarter tank, so we have we needed 1,500 gallons to fill it up. If we got like a good 20-minute rain, it'd be full. So we could get 1,500 gallons, 2,000 gallons in 15, 20 minutes in a good rainstorm. And if you look out the window, you can tell when it's coming. Because like you could just hear that roar, and get inside the house for a few minutes. Because it would come in, everything would get dark, the wind would blow, it'd get cool, fill up the tank, and then it'd be gone, and we'd be good. All right, so that's a side, that's a deviation from the story. So in those early years, we lived up there, and if you wanted to go to town, I would travel to town once every 3 months. And the reason was because it was just very inconvenient. I would have to travel from our interior out closer to the coast, over on this side. There's a little spot I would pull over. It'd take me a couple hours in a four-wheel drive to get there. I'd get out of the truck, and I'd find a boat, and they would charge you like $20 or something, what they called skin fare, and that just meant you could get on the boat now. So they would just travel carrying you. If you wanted to carry cargo, that's different, but just skin fare, just for you to get on, I'd pay them, and they would they'd take the boat down a river, through a canal, upriver, through a canal, and then down another river, and get out to the Gulf, and we would spend several hours going across the Gulf and meet over on the beach here somewhere. And then we would get out of the boats. We have like 2 hours in a truck, 9 hours in the boat, and then we'd wait on the beach and wait for a truck. We'd get in when the truck would arrive, they call that a PMV. Again, we pay the skin fare, get on the back of the truck, and then it would travel another 9 to 12 hours to get into town. So it was when we went to town, it was not like, going to Portland. It was a little bit different than that. And this highway, that highway right there getting into the town was notorious for banditry. When I say notorious, I've got some stories that I don't even put in the bad book here. Anyway. So we woke up one morning. We were in the village, and my wife said, I have a toothache. I got a toothache. Okay, so there's no dentist around. There was not even a single gas station in the entire province we lived in. No gas, no lumber yard. Like if you think, I need to go pick up a couple of bolts, you're going to town. And by town, I mean you're traveling for like a couple of days to get to town. If I wanted to take my wife out to eat, it would take a week to get to town and come back. I'm just saying. So, so she's got a toothache. So we left the children. We had a student missionary there. We left the children with the student missionary. My wife and I took the baby, our new baby, and we made the trip into town. And so it took us a while to get there. We were thinking about our kids. We don't like to leave them, for long periods of time without us being there. But we made the trip into town. We got to Port Moresby. And when we arrived, I immediately looked for a dentist, found one, got an immediate appointment. And my wife, she went in to see the dentist the next morning. And we got a hotel that night. And so she had her dentist appointment. When she was done, we're ready to go home. We checked out of the hotel and put our bags out in the lobby. And I said, listen, I think I've stuck them in the lobby when we went to the dentist, came back. And I said, listen, I don't mind. I hope you don't mind. I'd like to stay here just for a few hours until we wait for the PMV to come and pick us up. And they said, the lady there said, no problem, we can do that. So we waited, and the PMV, we made arrangements. They were supposed to pick us up like at 1 o'clock. And so we waited at 12 o'clock, 12:30. We had the baby there, and we had our luggage just kind of hanging out there. 1 o'clock showed up, and no PMV showed up. 1:30, 2 o'clock. And I told the manager, look, we'll be out by about 1. So when 2 o'clock comes, 2:30, we're still there. I feel like, okay, can I call? I just want to call. And we didn't have cell phones back then, so I had to use the landline from the hotel, called the PMV, the home, the operator. They said, oh, yeah, sorry, 3 o'clock. Okay, so we waited until 3 o'clock, and 3 o'clock comes, and no one's around, so we wait there. And so, Tim, do you mind if I borrow your phone again? That's fine, go ahead. So, 6 o'clock. All right, so we'll wait till, 4:30, 5, 6 o'clock. Now, just so you know, sun goes down at 6 o'clock. Okay, so 6 o'clock. And so 6 o'clock comes and goes, and so can I borrow your phone again? Yeah, no worries. Okay, 9 o'clock. Okay, so we're going to wait till 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock comes and goes. Okay, can I borrow your phone again? Yeah, no worries. So the lady at the manager, she begins talking to me. She says, listen, don't go. Don't go. She goes, that's not a good highway. Just stay here. You got to stay here. And she began talking like that around 5 o'clock. And says, you just stay here. And our pockets were not full of cash. And we were just trying to figure out, okay, what do we do now? We got to head back. We stay here and get another hotel. What do we do? And we figured we wanted to go back, just travel, because it's going to take a long time anyway. It's a long journey. Just go. And so, okay, we're just going to go. And she began begging. It wasn't just like saying it's not a good idea. She's begging us to stay. And eventually, she said, listen, I'll give you a free hotel room. Just stay here. Don't go. Just don't go. And I said, oh, thank you. But I think God will be with us. We'll be fine. And she goes, listen, I really don't want you to go. Just stay. There's a room right there. Gave us the key. Just stay in there. You can at least sleep until he comes, right? And so we went in there. We told her thank you. We went in there, showered, changed clothes, and eventually went to sleep. Like 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30, there's a knock on the door. It's a security guard. He says, look, there's a truck out here. They said they're waiting for you. I said, oh, okay. So 1 o'clock in the morning, we get out, and the back of this truck, there's a casket in it, and there's a like an extended family. Everybody's wailing, like they're all crying, mourning. And I walked over there with our suitcase, and I was thinking, man, I'm not sure. I was going to give you some details. I decided not to. We were just trying to figure out what to do there. And they had what they call the side boys. The side boys come over and say, oh, look, don't get in the back. You're going to get in the front. I said, okay. He said, well, just take your suitcase, put it in the back, but you guys get in the front. So my wife got in the middle with our daughter. I sat down next to the door, and they drive on the opposite side. So we have the driver, my wife and daughter, and then myself. That's how we were sitting. And so he started driving, and drove for a few hours, and I began thinking about that hotel manager. Like, why in the world would she constantly be telling us over and over, oh, please don't go, and then come back and tell us again, look, I really don't think it's a good idea, and finally offer us a free hotel room? Why was she doing that? And I began wondering, I wonder if there's something going on here that I wasn't paying attention to. And, maybe God was trying to tell me something. Like he's working out something here for me. And I just, for whatever reason, I'm not listening, But there's nothing to do now but sit in this truck in the dark, and I'm listening now. And I'm hearing this voice tell me that was a really dumb idea. And so I started thinking maybe I should be praying, like just asking God, like whatever you are wanting to prevent me from, going through, like maybe I should be asking you can you please help me out, because I don't know what to do. And I didn't feel like it was a good idea to just say, look, can you just dump me off on the side of the road? Like that didn't sound good. But what should I do? And it's funny. It is a little bit humorous now, but at that time it was not funny. Like I was worried. And what I did not want is for my wife to suffer because of my, what would you call that? Spiritual negligence, stupidity, like deafness, like I'm just not hearing, like whatever you would call that. Like I felt a really deep burden that I had made a huge mistake, and my wife and this little girl are now going to suffer because of it. And I began praying. And I prayed earnestly, fearful lest something bad was going to happen and my wife would suffer because of it. And I prayed for about 10 minutes, begging God for his mercy. And I had my head bowed, and as I finished praying, I opened my eyes. As I lifted up my head, 3 armed bandits jumped out from behind some bushes, pointed their guns at the windscreen, and yelled for the driver to stop. The driver did not stop. And as one of the drivers with a shotgun stepped to the side, and as the truck ambled past, he put the shotgun in the window and pulled the trigger. So he aimed right at the driver's chest, pulled the trigger. There was a huge explosion, and it sounded like glass shattering. The people in the back began screaming. The bandits were yelling and screaming and calling out threats. It was chaotic. My wife, she bent over. She had grabbed our daughter and bent her over. I tried to bend over. I had a box in front of me, so I couldn't. And the driver at the gun blast, he fell over the steering wheel and didn't move. And the truck began jerking because his feet were not engaged in the pedals. The people in the back, again, were screaming, go, 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 keep going, keep moving. And you could hear the bandits. I think they were running probably behind the truck for a little bit. But I don't know if they were lazy or just not fast enough, but the truck got away from even in its jerking kind of, position. Eventually, my wife, she said, "You all right?" I said, "Yeah." She touched the driver and said, "Are you okay?" And he lifted his head, looked at her and said, yeah, I think so. And he started engaging the pedals again and continued driving. And he drove for, I don't know, a mile or two, probably 2 miles. And then he stopped. He got out, walked over by the headlights, lifted up his jacket. He had a light windbreaker on, and it was burned. Because the rifle had been right there. They had laid it right in the window and pulled the trigger, and it burned his jacket. But not one pellet had gone through that jacket. And instead, what sounded to me like shattering glass was actually the pellets ricocheting all around the inside of that cabin. And so now they were on my daughter's clothes and my wife's dress. They were all over the seat. Like the pellets were everywhere, but nobody got hurt. Now, I don't know if you can imagine what it's like to have a shotgun blast at that close range and the pellets ricocheting all over inside of a vehicle and no one get touched by it. And the driver not get hurt at all, although his jacket is burned, right? Because the gun was right there. Like, how do you explain that? Like, I don't know of a way of explaining that. Other than God's mercy. God's mercy. Not just his ability to, tell an angel, hey, can you just make a little filter like that so the smoke can go through, but, all everything. Like that makes sense. But why, here's the things I'm wrestling with. Is like the hotel manager. God obviously was talking to her. Are you with me? She could hear him. I was the missionary. You know what I'm saying? I missed something. Yep. But later on, I caught on. And God was merciful. And he heard my prayer. And when that was all done, I just walked away thinking, man, God really did something profound here, right? I'm gonna jump a few years ahead. I will say this. I have deeply regretted over the years that I did not go back and find that hotel manager and tell her thank you. You know what I mean? I told God thank you over and over and over. I should have told that hotel manager thank you. And I just deeply regretted that in the years since. I felt like she deserved it. Like God was talking to her and she kept doing her job. Like she deserved a thank you for that. So the second story, that's in Rookie in the Rainforest. The second story I wanted to tell you took place in 2007. My wife and I were just getting ready to leave Papua New Guinea. We'd been there for 11 years, and during those 11 years, we'd had a number of tough experiences. Like I'm not going to tell you, or you'll have no need to read that book right there. As it is, at least maybe there's some reason for you to grab that book, and there's one chapter dedicated to this story. So a number of tough, I would say very tough circumstances had taken place in the 11 years that we had been in the country. And more than one of them involved bandits. I'll just leave it like that. And but the last few, but I don't want to make it sound too smoky because God was so good. God was so good. In the years that we were there, we were able to start several churches, a handful of churches. We had 3 schools in operation, and one of those schools today has more than 200 students, and they've been operating without us for years, right? So we're quite grateful for that. So there's a lot we can be grateful for that God was able to establish that church. We also helped get a church going in the next tribe over, and that church is still going and prospering, so we're grateful for that. So there's a lot of good that has taken place, and my wife and I consider the years that we spent there some of the best years and the most fulfilling years of our lives. If you ask us if we would do it over again, if we could back up, we would go. Yeah, we would be willing to stand in line, for the chance to do that. So that was definitely the case. And so the story I'm telling you now, I'm convinced was the devil's attempt to tarnish that picture we had of complete happiness of working there. He wanted to tarnish that, so that when we left, we would be telling ugly stories and not the good stories, right? I'm convinced that was, and he wanted us to look back at those years and say, oh, they were terrible, right? And forget all the good stuff that had taken place during those years. So the last few months were extremely difficult. And I'll just mention a couple of things just to, like some of the bigger pieces, just so you can get kind of a picture. I had a good friend of mine was murdered, and that was really tough. He was a super good friend of mine. We also had a couple of ladies. Somebody attacked him with a machete. I won't go into a lot of details, but we took them. We had to take them into town, to the emergency room for treatment, and then we were building a school, and I needed to pick up some supplies at a hardware store. And so while I was sitting on the stool at the counter waiting for them to give me some bolts, I was sitting there waiting for those bolts there. 5 bandits, broke into the hardware store, held everybody at gunpoint while they robbed the store, and then they left. And when they left, the security guard grabbed the hammer off the shelf and threw it to the back window. And then one of the bandits got mad, and he shared another gift in return. But anyway, the point is, it seemed like for days, like it was just chaos. And I don't know if you've ever been in that kind of a spot. They have what they call post-traumatic stress, which is like what happens like after, right? But what happens is when you're in that stress still, you don't call it post-traumatic. What do you call it? Like whatever and the challenge is when you live in that kind of environment over a long period of time, you get used to it. It's not like you wake up one morning and say, "Oh, I can't believe what happened yesterday," because it happens, right? And people talk about it, and everybody knows like that's just what life is about here. And so, no one was freaking. Can I use the word freaking out? Okay, nobody was freaking out because of these various events, because everybody else has it too. Like you just know that's the environment you're living in here. So, and we lived in the village. The village was so welcoming, so supportive. They're very loving. They would do anything for us. We had a number of people I'm sure would have died for us. So we felt very, very welcomed and at home among the Khmer people. So we were in town now, and I told my wife, look, she was taking care of a lady with a significant head wound, and so she and our daughter were there. We had an adopted son. His name was Eva. He also was from Papua New Guinea, been living with us almost since we came there, and he was probably like 17, Letty, I'm guessing, about the time. And to me, he was like my right-hand man. Like everywhere I went, he went with me. We would travel for days to the mountains together for mission business. And when he heard I was going to head back to the village, leave my wife there with the lady, head back and bring some supplies for the school, he was like, "Pops, I'll go with you." And so, okay, so he and I jumped in the truck, threw our backpacks in, got the supplies in there, and we began driving down the road. Now, at this point, they had made a highway to go from the capital out to our village. So I could drive actually on land all the way out. Some of it was dirt road still, but it was accessible. So we began driving, heading home, and got a good early start in the morning. And it had been raining excessively. We had so much rain, and we had so much rain. We got within 13 kilometers of. This is the second story. Hang on. I'm leaving our driving along the road on the side. When we had gotten earlier materials, we had hired 3 large trucks to haul the materials out for the school. When they got close to 13 kilometers, they said the road was so bad, they refused to go anymore, and they wanted to unload all of our materials there. I'm talking about iron roofing, bags of concrete. We had to hand carry it for 13 kilometers through a swamp, over a hill, crossing a river, up an embankment. Anyway, that's, like I said, it's a sight. But the point was we were getting a lot of rain. And the rain was bad enough that it was washing out sections of the river. So we have the river winds around, and the highway tries to go straight. So it goes close to the water, and then far away from the water, then close to the water, then far away from the water. So it does that number. And so as we were driving really slowly, because the road, this dirt section of the road was really bad, we kind of went through a little dip and kind of come up over the edge. And the water had washed, the river had washed the bank away. And it had gotten closer and closer to the road until the road caved into the water. So the river carried it away. So they moved the road on someone's private property and came around and got back to the main road again. And then the river ate that away. So they moved it again. And after several moves, the landowners complained, you're eating our garden. You don't drive all over our garden, right? So then what they did is trying to keep the road. They poked some little sticks in the ground. I mean, little sticks, and tried to put enough sticks in there that when the truck drove over it, it wouldn't hit a mud puddle and then increase the chances of the road caving in. When I'm driving on it, I'm those sticks are not going to keep. Anyway, I was driving slowly and got around to those mud puddles. As I was coming out, 5 masked bandits came out of the bushes, pointed their guns at the window, and demanded we stop. Now, we had, my son and I were in the vehicle. He had a cousin who was in the back, and there was also the sister of one of the girls we left in the hospital. She was in the back. So she'd already been traumatized by her sister's circumstances, and now she's in the back. They demanded we get out. I couldn't go around them. There was 5, and I knew they would shoot, and I didn't want anybody injured. Besides, I was going so slow because of the holes. I couldn't really outrun them anyway. So we stopped. They immediately hit my elbow with the barrel of the shotgun. So this arm was basically useless. They tried to cut my son's head. They said he wasn't getting out of the truck fast enough. So they took a good swing at it with the machete. I had just seen 2 girls. I knew what machete marks could do. So he ducked. They chopped the section of the like a little windscreen. They have a little shade hangs over the window. They chopped that. Long story short, they forced us in the back of the truck and told us they were going to kill us, held us under arms, and they hijacked the truck and hauled it way off out in the rainforest. And the whole time, the guys in the back kept screaming at us that they were going to kill us. They kept yelling, "We're going to kill you, we're going to kill you, we're going to kill you." And there's a guy I'm going to call Two Knives. Two Knives, and the young lady, the the sister of the lady left in town. I'm just going to call her sister, so I don't have to keep saying the sister of the lady we left in town, right? So sister was crying. She was a nervous wreck, and she just began crying and crying. And the two knives, this guy, he had his machete, plus he stole mine. He began yelling at her to be quiet, or he was going to kill her, just kill her right there. And so I was trying to calm her down, and trying to figure out how we're going to get out of this predicament, because he kept repeatedly saying that they were going to kill us. And I was sitting on, we had a spare tire in the back with some cement bags. I was sitting on that. The sister was sitting behind me, and cousin, our adopted son Eva's cousin, was sitting kind of on the edge of the, like, concrete, spare tire and concrete. So sister's right here, I'm here, Reeboks is here, that's cousin, and then Eva is sitting right there. So there's a bandit. If I'm sitting here, there's a bandit here with the axe and a pistol. There's one over here. I think he had a pistol, and there's a guy here with the two knives is sitting right there, because he's got two machetes, and he's sitting on the tailgate and he's looking at us. And as I sat there, I thought, my son, he can easily push that guy over the tailgate. Like, that is so easy. And if I'm fast, I can push this guy over, because he's not holding on very good. He's got an axe, he's armed, right? He's got to hold on to that. I could probably push him over off the side. But if cousin doesn't play his part, someone's getting shot. And I talked to my son later. He says, "Pops, I was just waiting for you to push that guy." Like, I was ready to push this guy. He says, "The only person I wasn't sure about was cousin." And I said, "Yeah, me too." That was what I was worried about. So both of us were sitting there, and I was telling myself, look, we're going to get killed. It's just a matter of time. He's told us that. Like, they're all heavily armed. They're going to take the truck out there. They're going to kill us. It happens all the time. Like, we hear stories, crazy stories, like it's going to happen. And I was just trying to think, what should I do? What should I do? And I was thinking the only responsible thing a father would do was attack this guy, right? Was attack this guy. And just trust that my son will push that guy over, and just trust that cousin will play his job and play his part. So I was praying, what should we do? And then the thought occurred to me, Dale, you did not come to this country to kill people. You came here to save people. And if you murder this guy, if he's going to hit his head on you'll kill him. This guy will get killed. And if Reeboks does his job, you got 3 people killed, right? Okay, so that's 3. Can you imagine what the newspapers were going to sound like, right? Missionary kills 3 Papua New Guineans on the side of the highway right there. And I really had to wrestle with that. Like, it's funny here a little bit, but at the time, like, it's either they're dying or I'm dying. That's what it's amounting to, right? So how do we make that call? And so I was begging God, like, you got to help me to make the right decision, because if I make the wrong decision, it's going to be really bad. And if I make the right decision, it may not be comfortable, right? And so I had peace. Like, I was made that prayer, and God gave me peace. I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave it like that, and I'll just trust that God will help us through this. And so they took us way out to I won't tell you, crazy stuff happened along that road. I did not put all of it in the book. But I will say we did eventually get out to just kind of like a grassy field, and they pulled the truck out in there like somebody's abandoned garden from decades earlier. And like they had this wild grass there, the really sharp edges. If you walk through it, your legs get cut up, But anyway, they drove out there, and they again yelled at us again, "This is where we're going to kill you." And so I'm thinking, okay, this is it. So something bad's going to happen right now. And they began pushing the girl around, grabbing her by her she had a shirt on. They began grabbing her. I was wondering where that noise was coming from, and pushing her around and demanding money. And I just told the guy, listen, she didn't have any money. She just came to visit her sister in the hospital. That's it. And I said, just leave her alone. And remarkably, he did. He just left her alone. And then they entered the truck, began ripping, cutting upholstery, just anything they could do to look for money. They began pawing around, and one guy was guarding us. And he would, or every once in a while, he would turn around and look at the guys in the back to see what they were collecting. And he had us move off to the side a little bit, and I thought they were going to shoot us right there. And when he turned around to look at his friends, we split. We split. Can I say that? Okay, we ran into the forest, and they did not bother chasing us. Instead, they got in the vehicle, and they drove down a little dirt road. And when I say dirt road, don't think dirt road. A jungle trail. They drove down like a little jungle trail and disappeared. Not disappeared, but they left. If I said disappeared, someone, yeah. I'm a little more conscious with English because I travel, All right, so anyways, it took us, I'll cut this story short. This is my limit, 12:30. Eventually made it back, made a police report. The police officers came, and several of them, we ended up getting the truck back. Several of the police officers were stealing the stuff that the bandits left behind. This lady, she saw us at a little market. She felt bad, and she gave me some food. And one of the police officers picked it up and said, "Oh, let me help you with this." And so he helped me with that. I eventually, I did get back to the house. I saw my wife again. And when I pulled in, I was fine until I saw her. And then I started crying. And I don't like to say that in public, but I did. I think the stress of the last few weeks had been just a little more than God designed humans to, even men, to wrestle with. And I think if I dealt with it even more, you get a little dull to it. But at this point, I cried for a little bit. And I had a friend, a missionary colleague was there, and he listened to what was going on. And this is what he said. He said, "So, how long have you been in this country?" And when he said that, I said 11 and a half years. And what I meant was, I have been in this country, and I've endured 11 and a half years of this kind of stuff, And I was thinking every bit, God is not taking care of me, or I would have avoided all of this. Like, why did God allow me to have to endure this again, right? And so my focus was on poor Dale. He's been suffering for 11 and a half years. God has not spared him all of this, right? Like, that was what I meant, and I meant it. And my friend David, he responded by saying, "Wow, 11 and a half years. He's helped you through 11 and a half years, and you're still here. And yet he did it again. He helped you through that, And when he said that, it just did something in my head. It flipped it around, and I thought, it's true. It's true. One more time, God has spared my life. One more time. He's helped me through some crazy thing that did not need to exist. He's helped me through that one more time. And all of a sudden, I felt really special. Okay, I can deal with it. God helped me through it one more time. I'm happy with that. And I was content. I was content. I came back to United. Can you handle a couple more minutes? So, all right, so I came back to the United States. I trained missionaries. And so we had another missionary group came in. We were training missionaries. And we had a guy heading for New Guinea. And I felt a deep sense of responsibility. Like, I need to tell this guy a couple of stories. And, like, I want him to know that the road can be bumpy, and that does not mean God's not there. Are you with me? Like, just because you get held up by bandits, just because you're hijacked, just because you're like have a gun, that doesn't mean God's not there. It just means that evil people are there. Are you with me? Yeah, that doesn't mean God's not there. And so I have to learn to see things differently and interpret things differently. And I wanted my friend, this new guy going out there, to be able to go out there knowing that in spite of the fact you cannot see God's presence, it's still there. In spite of the fact that you cannot see deliverance around the corner, that doesn't make any difference. Doesn't make any difference. And I wanted to know, listen, sometimes God speaks to you and you may not be listening to him. I want you to listen. Because it's easy to not do that. Easy to not do that. I want him to be in tune. So when God speaks, they're hearing that. They're listening for it. Not just listening if he, hello! Oh, I heard that one. But listening for it. So if God doesn't have to yell at you. Like, are you with me? Like, I feel like the hotel manager, she was yelling at me. And God was talking loudly to her. What happened to me? Like, I feel like I missed it. And so, like, I wanted to tell him, like, don't be dumb. Listen. Right? Listen. And so I talked to him, and he had a lot of questions because he had a couple of daughters. Right? And he had a lot of questions. And, fortunately, part of the country he was going, it was a lot calmer at that time. And so where he was living was a beautiful spot. Like, it was a beautiful place. And I was the field director. I did training, and I was the field director. So I went with him up to his post of duty, and I could see him there, get settled. And you think we lived in a remote place? This guy lived in a really remote place. I mean, at the time, it was like 22 hours. After like a 9-hour four-wheel drive ride, he's like 22 hours in a boat with a 40-horse motor. Like, he's way up. He's like miles and miles and miles and miles and miles from, like, if he wants to go to town, yeah, anyway. So we dropped him off. He's getting all set up there. I left. And before I could make another trip back, he was dead. And, I felt invincible because I felt like I had gone through so many circumstances that were really tough. And I come out the other side. I felt like if you're a missionary, there is no graveyard for missionaries, right? But that's a lie. If you look back in Adventist history or Protestant history, the world is full of missionary graveyards. The fact that you're serving God does not mean you're not going to suffer, and it does not mean you won't die prematurely. It doesn't. And if you become a missionary, it doesn't mean you're going to live to be 99 or 100. All becoming a missionary does is give you access to unreached people. It doesn't give you more privileges than everybody else gets. It just gives you access to more unreached people. And the world today is full of unreached people. It's the truth. They figure today there's more than 3 billion, billion with a B, more than 3 billion people who do not have access to Christ at all. More than 3 billion. Like, that number is huge. It's astoundingly huge. It's astoundingly huge. It's a huge number. You don't have any idea. You want me to tell you how many? Here, I'm going to give you a picture. 3 billion. That's all the people in the United States, well, North America. That's every man, woman, and child in North America, Central America, South America, Australia, the continent of Africa, all the Middle Eastern countries, and like all of Russia, and like another 6 or 8 countries in Europe. That's 3 billion people. That's a lot of people. Just imagine if that's the number of people that do not have access to Jesus. Like we sometimes get a feeling that the work is almost done. It's not. We need more people willing to go. But I can't promise you that you're going to go there and live to be 100. Are you with me? I can't promise you that you're going to go there and come back and you won't have a scar here or there, right? Or you're not going to have a battle story to tell. I can't promise you that. In fact, Sister White mentioned a long time ago, we needed to go while the going was good. And the longer we waited, the harder it was going to get. And the truth is, it's getting harder and harder and harder. But what we don't do today, our children will be responsible for tomorrow. And it'll be harder for them than it is for us. It's just something to think about. There's still a huge need in the world today for people to be willing to carry Jesus' name to the unreached. That need is still there. And I'm here telling you a scary story, but I'm also telling you that God is able. Like if it fits His agenda, you know, if He can, you can say, like in the case of my friend, he died, right? And his casket came back, but his life inspired a number of people to go take his place, and the work he left behind, work is growing there. Work is growing there in his absence, but it's still growing there. So it's not like the work died when he did. But what I'm here to tell you is I feel like as a people, as a Seventh Adventist people, we need to regain our burden for souls. Regain our commitment to go where it's uncomfortable, to bring the gospel to people who can't go get it for themselves, who can't go and get it for themselves. And I want to leave you with one last little piece, little note, and then I'll stop, I promise. I feel like there's a lot for us to learn about how the great controversy works. Like when miracles come. Like, because a number of times I expected miracles and they didn't happen. And there were times when miracles happened when I didn't expect them. And sometimes God was talking to me and I wasn't listening. And sometimes I talked to God and I thought He wasn't listening. Are you with me? You know, so like how does this great controversy work on God's side? How does it work? It doesn't always work like we think it does. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote these 3 books, because I wanted to paint a picture that I think a lot of people don't get. And sometimes the only way to get it is to experience something. And because you don't all want to do what I did over there, I wanted to bring some of that over here. So you could taste it without having to go and do the gardening. Are you with me? Like, so I just wanted you to be able to see some of that. And it's my burden, and the appeal I'm wanting to make is that each of us would be willing to grapple a little more with what does it mean to be one of God's end time people. Not just one of God's people, but one of God's end time people. End time meaning like the door of probation. It's almost what? Closed. What does it mean to be one of His end time people? I think it'd be good for us to wrestle with that. And then just ask God, what's our place in this end time environment? You know, I have a daughter. Right when I was driving on the road, I thought everything was peaceful. I had no idea that I'd be hijacked in a few minutes. I sent my daughter before I left an email, My daughter was in the United States. I told her, listen, I'm going back to the village and leaving Mom here and Marianne. And my daughter got that email, and she's like, oh no, something bad's going to happen to Dad. And she goes, I know it. She began praying for me. And while she's praying for me, what am I doing? Driving down the road, talking to my son. I had no idea what was just literally up the road. And what I'm telling you is I feel like there's a lot just up the road. And I think that as a people, we're driving along with no real concept of what's going to take place or what needs to take place. And I want you to know I'm praying because I know there's a lot has to happen, and there's a lot that we should be doing. Maybe we're not. And I'm just here to pray with you that we can work together to be whatever it takes to finish God's work. Does that sound like a plan? Let's pray. Lord God, it's a huge privilege to be one of your last day people. It is a privilege. But there is still a huge amount of work to be done. A huge amount of work to be done. Literally thousands of people groups that don't have any access at all to Jesus, to the plan of salvation, to someone to disciple them. I just pray that you help all of us, Lord. Just ask the questions like, what can we do? How can we play our part more responsibly? How can we prepare for next year or the year after when we'll be old enough to go out to the field? Or I'm too old, how am I going to help out? Lord, all of us need to have a place. Let's pray that you'd help us all to look for that place and to find the role you want us to fill, to help complete the work in the day that we're living in. Did you give us strength to go through the hard stuff? And give us faith, Lord, when things we can't see, we're blind to what needs to happen or what we're supposed to be doing or how we're going to accomplish what needs to be done. We just need your help to help us through those dark spots. And when things really get dark and scary, that you hold our hand a little tighter. Help us through it so we can just save as many people as possible, like Paul was saying. Just save as many as possible for Christ's sake.